The 100-year-old Livestream. Chat, I'm telling you right now, something is wrong with this place. Marcus kept his voice low, almost a whisper, even though he was alone. That was habit. 5 years of urban exploring had taught him that sound travels in ways you don't expect underground. Echoes betray you. Silence betrays you worse. He pressed his palm flat against the bunker door. The metal was cold. Not just cool the way old metal gets in the shade, but genuinely, deeply cold. The kind of cold that makes you pull your hand back without deciding to. He pulled his hand back. Guys, I found this location 3 weeks ago through a declassified municipal archive. No official record of construction, no record of it being decommissioned. The document that mentions it was filed in 1923, and then nothing. Like it stopped existing on paper. He tilted his camera down toward the doorframe. Notice the seal. That's original rubber gasket lining, 100 years old, and it's still intact. That means this door has not been opened. He paused, letting the camera linger. Which means I'm about to open it. The seal broke with a sound that didn't belong. Not a crack, not a hiss, but something almost organic. A soft, wet exhale. Like a held breath finally released. The smell hit him immediately. Not rot, not mold, not the usual damp earth, dead air smell of abandoned spaces. This was something else. Something that made him think inexplicably of ozone, of the air just before lightning strikes. He stepped inside. The corridor was narrow and low. The walls poured concrete that had never been painted. Marcus moved slowly, one hand trailing the wall, the other holding his camera steady. His flashlight carved a pale cone of light ahead of him. Beyond that cone was nothing, just absolute, swallowing dark. Temperature's dropping, he said. I can feel it. That's unusual because we're going down, and underground spaces typically stabilize. They don't keep getting colder as you descend unless there's active airflow. And there shouldn't be any airflow in a sealed structure. He watched his breath start to fog. 40 meters in, the corridor turned sharply right, then immediately left. The design was deliberate, a blast baffle, meant to redirect pressure waves from explosions. This wasn't just a storage bunker. Whoever built this expected things to get loud outside. Then the corridor opened up. Marcus stopped. The room was perhaps 8 meters wide and 6 meters deep. Standard bunker furnishings, a rusted metal cot bolted to the wall, an old wooden table, 2 chairs, a shelf with glass jars, contents long since evaporated or turned to black residue. None of that was what stopped him. What stopped him was the light. In the far corner of the room, on a modern desk, particle board and aluminum, the kind you order flat-packed and assemble yourself, sat a computer monitor. A current generation monitor, thin bezel, sitting on a metal arm. And it was on. The screen glowed with a clean white-blue light that made the bunker's ancient concrete look almost clinical. Marcus didn't speak for a full 7 seconds. His camera caught the monitor. The monitor's glow caught his face. Any viewer watching the footage later would notice his expression pass through confusion, then disbelief, then something he hadn't quite reached a name for yet. He stopped. Started again. There is a computer monitor in this room. He crossed to it slowly, checking the floor as he went, force of habit. Old floors crack. Old floors collapse. The floor held. He reached the desk and leaned in close. The monitor was running a live stream interface, a chat panel on the right side of the screen, a live video feed on the left. The video feed was dark, not black, but the particular greenish dark of a night vision camera with active infrared. In the center of the frame was a figure. A figure holding a camera. It took Marcus 3 full seconds to understand that he was looking at himself. He stepped back. The figure in the stream stepped back. He raised his right hand. The figure raised its right hand. I'm the stream, he thought. Someone is streaming me. His eyes moved to the chat panel. It was scrolling, not slowly, not occasionally, but continuously. Message after message cascading upward in a waterfall of text. He leaned in and read. He found the room. Finally, LOL. Took him long enough. He's reading the chat right now. He's reading the chat right now. Look at his face. He doesn't see it yet. Does he see it? He's reading the chat. Look under the desk, Marcus. Marcus felt the cold in his chest then. Not metaphorical, not poetic, actual cold, like ice water poured slowly down between his ribs. His name. They had written his name, not the explorer or the guy. Marcus. His name. His full name appeared in the next message, and beneath it, the name of the town he was in, the name of the access road he'd driven down 3 hours ago, and the approximate square footage of the bunker room he was currently standing in. He looked at the stream title. It read, Marcus Cole, Bunker 7, Eastfield, Live. And beneath the title, in smaller text, a viewer count. The number was not a small number. He straightened up slowly, turned around, examined every corner of the room that his flashlight could reach. No visible cameras. No obvious hardware on the walls or ceiling. He checked the monitor again, checked the back of the desk, followed the only cable he could see, a single power cable, to where it disappeared into the concrete wall. The chat had not stopped scrolling. He's looking for the camera. He won't find it that way. Marcus. Look under the desk. He did not look under the desk. Not yet. Instead, Marcus pulled out his phone and did what any rational person does when something irrational happens. He tried to call someone. No signal. Of course, no signal. He was 40 meters underground in a sealed concrete structure that had been airtight for a century. He looked at the power cable again. There was electricity in a sealed, abandoned, 100-year-old bunker. That meant a power source, a generator, a connection to an external line, something. He had seen no generator in the corridor. He had heard no generator. There was no smell of exhaust, no vibration in the floor. Whatever was powering this monitor was either very well hidden or something he didn't have a category for yet. The chat kept scrolling. He made himself read it carefully, the way you make yourself look at something you're afraid of, deliberately, systematically, refusing to flinch. Most of the messages were variations of the same few things: observation, commentary, his name. A running thread of people describing what he was doing in real time, with the casual familiarity of an audience that had been watching for a long time. But occasionally, scattered among the noise, were messages that were different in tone, older feeling somehow, though the timestamps all showed the current date and time. We waited a long time for this. Does he know what the room was for? He should check the shelf. Not the shelf, not yet. Under the desk first. Always under the desk first. He checked the shelf. The glass jars held what he'd initially assumed was just residue. Dark, dried matter coating the bottom of each jar. But two of the jars held something else. Paper. Folded paper, protected from moisture by the sealed lids. He worked one lid open carefully. The paper inside was brittle but intact. He unfolded it. It was a photograph. Black and white, small format, the kind taken with an early box camera. It showed this room. Unmistakably this room. The same cot, the same shelf, but with people in it. 4 people in 1920s clothing sat or stood around the wooden table. They were not looking at the camera. They were all looking at the desk in the corner. The corner where the monitor now sat. Except in the photograph, the monitor wasn't there. The desk was there, and on the desk was something smaller, darker. Marcus couldn't make out the details in the reproduction, but the four people were staring at it with an attention so focused it looked almost devotional. On the back of the photograph, in handwriting that was careful and deliberate, 4 words: "We kept the signal." Marcus put the photograph down. His hands were steady, which surprised him. His mind had shifted into a kind of over-focused calm, the state you reach when fear gets large enough to pass through panic and come out the other side as pure, cold clarity. He looked at the chat. He found the photo. Good. That's the right order. Now he's ready. Look under the desk, Marcus. You've earned it. Look under the desk. Look under the desk. Look under the desk. The messages were no longer scrolling at different speeds. They had synchronized, every message appearing at the same interval, the same pace, almost like a heartbeat. Look under the desk. Look under the desk. Look under the desk. Marcus crouched down. He looked under the desk. The hand was the first thing he registered. Not the phone, the hand. It was skeletal. Not in the way people use that word loosely, meaning thin or gaunt, but literally, clinically skeletal. Bone. Dry, yellowed bone. The kind that had finished with everything biological decades ago. The fingers were curled loosely, the way a sleeping person's hand curls around something they don't want to drop, even in unconsciousness. And they were curled around a phone. A modern smartphone, current generation. The screen was on. The camera was pointed directly up, directly at Marcus's face. He didn't move. He stayed crouched, one knee on the cold concrete, staring at the phone. And the phone, or whatever was operating it, stared back. On the monitor above him, he could see the chat had stopped scrolling completely. Every user, every account, every presence in that stream had gone simultaneously, perfectly silent. For the first time since he'd entered the room, the chat was still. Then, a single message appeared. There you are. Marcus stood up slowly. His legs felt distant. Not weak, just disconnected. Like they belonged to someone else who happened to be standing in the same place. He looked at the monitor. He looked at the chat. He looked back at the desk, at the phone still resting in the skeletal hand beneath it, still recording, still transmitting. He was a person who made his living staying calm on camera. He had crawled through collapsed buildings, crossed floors that moved beneath him, navigated spaces where the air itself tasted like warning. He had developed, out of pure professional necessity, the ability to keep his voice level when his body was screaming. He used that ability now. "Okay," he said, addressing his own camera, his audience, the chat, all of them, whatever combination of real and wrong they turned out to be. "Let me think through this out loud. We like when he talks. Keep talking, Marcus." The chat was moving again, slower now, conversational. "The phone is modern. Current hardware. I can see the model from here, and that phone wasn't manufactured until 4 years ago. The skeleton," he paused, recalibrated. "The remains are old, decades old, minimum. So the phone was placed there recently, after death, by something or someone that is not the original occupant of this room. Smart. He's smart. We chose well." He caught that last one, read it twice. "We chose well." "Who are you?" he asked, not to his camera, to the chat. The responses came in a wave, dozens layering over each other faster than he could track. But he caught fragments, and the fragments were not random. They were answers, partial, overlapping, contradictory in detail, but strangely coherent in implication. "We've been here since the beginning. We found the signal first. 1923. The room was built for this. Not for war. Never for war. The bunker was the container. The signal needed a container. We've been watching every explorer who got close. 11 before you. None of them found the room. You found the room." Marcus read fast, parsing the stream with his eyes while keeping his breathing even. "The bunker wasn't military," he said slowly. "It was built to house something. Some kind of transmission. Yes. 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 Finally. Yes. And the people in the photograph, the 4 people, they built it. They maintained it. They kept the signal alive. They kept the signal alive, one at a time. When one ended, another came. The hand under the desk, that's the last one. She held the phone for 19 years. She didn't put it down. She couldn't. Once you hold it, you don't put it down. The cold in the room tightened. Marcus felt it most in his ears, in his throat, in the thin skin at his temples. He looked at the skeletal hand again with genuinely different eyes now, not as a prop, not as evidence of a crime, but as the end point of a 19-year vigil. Someone had sat under that desk in this sealed room, holding a phone trained upward, and had simply continued until they couldn't anymore, continued until whatever remained wasn't capable of continuing. And even then, the phone had not been put down. Whoever enters broadcasts. The stream is the room. The room is the stream. It's been live for 103 years. You're the content, Marcus. You've always been the content. Every explorer who got close added to it without knowing. Their heat, their fear, their breathing. It all goes into the signal. It feeds it. It keeps it alive. Marcus took a step back from the desk, then another. His camera was still rolling. He registered that automatically, the red light in his peripheral vision, the quiet hum of recording. On the monitor, his retreating figure moved in the green-tinted night vision feed. He watched himself back away from himself.
And the viewer count, he said. His voice was still level. He was proud of that, distantly. Those aren't regular people watching. The chat erupted. Not in words this time, but in a sound his speakers weren't built to produce. A layered, grinding, analog static that shouldn't have been possible from a standard monitor. It lasted 3 seconds. When it stopped, 3 words were on the screen. You understand now. He looked at the viewer count. He looked at the viewer count and felt his professional calm develop a crack. Because the number had changed. While he'd been talking, while he'd been reading the chat and reasoning out loud and keeping his voice even and his hands steady, the viewer count had been climbing. Not by tens or hundreds, by thousands. Every few seconds, another surge. He watched it happen in real time. The number ticking upward with a rhythm that wasn't random. It was accelerating. The longer he stood in the room, the more they came. And he understood, with the particular horror of something that is both completely irrational and completely logical, that they weren't joining a stream. They were being drawn to a signal. And the signal was him. He turned to leave. The corridor was where he'd left it. The sharp right turn, then left, the blast baffle corners, the 40 meters of dark between him and the door. He covered the first 10 meters fast, his flashlight swinging, his breath loud in the narrow space. He stopped. The corridor had a smell now that it hadn't had before. Ozone. The same ozone smell from when he'd first broken the seal, but stronger and directional. Coming from ahead of him, from the direction of the entrance, from outside. He stood in the corridor and made himself think. The smell of ozone.
conductive airflow in a sealed structure. Electricity with no visible source. The signal needed a container. The bunker wasn't sealed to keep people out. It was sealed to keep the signal in. And he had opened it.
Marcus made it out. He wanted to be clear about that. He ran the last 30 meters of corridor, hit the entrance door at full pace, shouldered through it into the gray afternoon light above ground, and he made it out. He sat in the mud outside the bunker entrance for a long time, breathing, letting his heart rate come back down, watching the sky and confirming it was still the sky. He drove home. 3 hours. He stopped once for petrol and stood under the forecourt lights and looked at normal things. Candy bars, a rack of road maps, a man in a yellow jacket paying for coffee, and felt grateful for every one of them. He didn't upload the footage. He made that decision in the car, somewhere around the 2-hour mark, and it was the easiest decision he'd ever made. Whatever was on that recording, whatever had been captured, he wasn't going to put it into circulation. He wasn't going to add it to the stream.
He went home. He slept badly, but he slept. In the morning, he made coffee and sat at his own desk, his real desk, in his flat, with his ordinary equipment and his ordinary life arranged around him. And he opened his laptop to check his usual notifications. His channel had gained overnight. Not a few subscribers, not the usual trickle from an old video getting recommended. Thousands. Overnight, while he was asleep, while he had uploaded nothing, thousands of new subscribers on a channel that had posted nothing new. He checked his video dashboard. All his existing videos showed normal metrics, normal activity. Except for one. A video he hadn't uploaded. It had been posted to his channel at 3:47 a.m. The thumbnail was a still frame, dark, greenish, night vision tinted, and it showed a figure crouched over a desk in a concrete room. The figure's face was turned away from the camera. In the corner of the thumbnail, barely visible, a monitor glowing white-blue. The title of the video was his name and a number. Marcus Cole, Bunker 7, 000 001. The timestamp in the title was not a duration. It was a start time. 1 second in. The video had been live for 1 second before he looked at it. He hovered over it with his cursor for a long time without clicking. The view count was not a small number. He looked at the comments. They had been posting for hours through the night while he slept. He doesn't know yet. He's going to open it. Look at the desk. Look at the chat. He's reading the comments right now. Marcus closed the laptop. He sat very still.
His phone was on the desk beside him, screen down, the way he always left it at night. He reached over and picked it up and turned it over. The front camera indicator light, the small dot that glows when the camera is active, was on. It had been on, he realized, since he'd left the bunker. He looked at his phone. The phone looked back. Somewhere, on a monitor that had been running for 103 years, in a chat that had never gone offline, in a room that existed specifically to hold something that should not have been let out, a message appeared. Welcome to the stream. You don't put it down now. Nobody puts it down. He still hasn't posted the bunker video. His channel keeps growing. If you check the comments on any of his uploads, any of them, even the old ones, scroll far enough down and you'll find a thread that doesn't belong. People describing what he's doing right now, in real time. Always in real time. We don't know who they are.